Okay, so we got a John Deere here today, and he says the transmission is slipping. So he bought a belt and was going to put it on himself, but decided to have me do it. So we'll put the belt on, but I am more concerned. Anytime you hear slipping on a hydrostatic, you should always think, oh, it may need transmission oil and or a new filter. And some of these, the filter is inside, it's internal. So you got to tear it all apart, clean it all out, and put it all back together. So we'll start out with the belt. First thing we got to do is try to get the deck out of the way. And there's a simple way to do this. What we'll do is we'll disconnect this bar right here. We'll just pull this pin out. Okay, so now we're going to come to the back here, and there's one little bracket that we got to disconnect. So we'll remove this pin here. Okay, now as I jack it up, the front end of the deck will stay down. I did not disconnect the back. Just that one bracket on both sides is all I disconnected. So now when I lift up the wheels, the deck will stay on the ground. Okay, now that I got it up a little bit, I'm going to try to walk off the blade, or the belt I should say. You don't want it to stretch the belt out as you raise up the mower. Okay, so at this point we're going to remove the PTO. This is the electric device that engages the mower blades. We're going to remove that. Now, you're supposed to disconnect the wires. Typically, you would disconnect the wires up here, but I think there's a disconnect on the PTO itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay the PTO on this brick, and we'll figure that out afterwards. Not too concerned about getting it disconnected as long as I have it supported and it's not hanging off the wire. So before we drop the PTO, we want to make sure we understand how it's being held into place. So there's a bracket that comes from the side of the lawnmower over to here, and it pokes through the PTO right here. So that's what keeps it from turning. So we want to make sure that we get that line back up when we put it back together. This is going to be heavy, so you want to make sure you support it well. Especially since the wire is on it, we don't want to drop that wire. Got to turn up my impact. I got to set on low. Okay, so now we need to take this off. So we'll I'll set the brake. That should loosen the tension a little bit. That takes that belt right off. We'll drop this down, and now we can work on getting the belt off. So on the PTO, there is a disconnect here on this particular model. So I could take it off there, but for now, I'm just going to leave it alone. Unless this gets in the way, then I'll take it off. Okay, so this is the steering column right here. So as I turn the steering wheel, this whole thing moves back and forth. So this is the steering column. Now you may notice that the belt goes on either side of that steering column. So I got to remove the steering column in order to get that belt out. So I won't take it all the way out, but I will have to raise it up a bit so I can get that belt out. Okay, so I went up and just pulled the steering wheel. That loosened it enough that it comes out. And now we'll pull the steering wheel up. And now the belt should come right out. Okay, so I'm going to have to loosen these nuts on these pulleys a little bit so I can get the belt out from between the belt guard and the pulley. So I just dropped I don't want to take the pulley off, I just want to drop it down a bit. Okay, so all John Deeres have this tedious little thing you got to do. There is a belt guard right here. I'll get my finger out of the way, but right next to the pulley is a belt guard. You got to unscrew that. It's just a little bit of a time. So we'll get in there and you just got to deal with it. It's just one of those things you got to be patient with. Okay, so it's a 15 millimeter. And I'm sure you can't see what I'm doing, but you just come back here and you find yourself a comfortable position and you start loosening it. Okay, I got it out. So that's what it looks like. So this is the belt guide right up here, and that's the 15 millimeter, and that goes into the transmission down there at the threaded area. So now we should be able to get the belt out. So we may luck out. It may not be the transmission. This belt is quite worn out. So it may have stretched enough that it's slipping. That'll be good news. Now we'll put the new belt on. I don't have a choice but to put my head in front of the camera, so I'm just going to shut the camera off. But all I'm going to do is put the belt in the pulley and start that guide back into there. Okay, so we got that guide back in, so now I'm going to put the belt through. I'm not going to hook them up to the pulleys just yet. I'm going to keep it out of the pulleys until we can get everything lined up here. Now I got to get that steering wheel back in there. Okay, so it's in. Now, when you do the steering wheel, you want to come up here, make sure your wheels are straight, and then try to line your steering wheel up so it's straight up and down. Okay, so we're going to put the gear back on like that, and now we'll put the nut on. I'm going to put this on low setting so I don't hammer it in too tight. Okay, so now we're going to put the pulley back on, and there's a key here, keyway that you got to line up, and the key is permanently attached into the pulley, so you don't have to Try to find her or something. And we'll put the belt on. Okay, so now we have to line the keyway up, and we got to get this bracket in to that hole that I showed you earlier. Okay, so now I'm going to put these belts on this belt on this pulley, I should say, on these pulleys. I'm going to lower that one a little bit more. I'll release the brakes, see if it does it correctly. Yep, I think so. Okay, so now we're going to try to put the belt back on for the mower deck. There it is. And we'll put this guide bar on. Okay, so I gotta put that bracket back on. Okay, so I rode it down the hill. My hill probably isn't as steep as his. When I went and picked it up, it was pretty steep. But there was no slipping, so I think we may have solved the problem. Of course, when he gets it on his hill, he may find out that it's still slipping. We'll see. So if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to another video where I was working on something. So I hope this helps you work on your equipment under the shade tree. Thanks for watching.